Hey everyone, it's me Pratima. So if you're looking to buy a new smartphone under some 40,000 rupees right now, there are quite a lot of options to choose from. Honestly, I haven't seen the premium mid-range space this competitive before. That means if any brand wants to stand out in this segment, they absolutely have to bring their A game to the table because it's just too competitive. And today I have Vivo's latest offering, the Vivo V29 Pro, which costs exactly 40,000 rupees for the base 8 to 56GB variant. However, after testing it for over a week now, I believe the V29 Pro sadly does not have anything special going for itself. Sure, it has got a nice design, it's got a good display and a pretty decent set of cameras, but that's something you can easily get in this price bracket. So let me share all my findings of the V29 Pro with you in this review. Okay, let me start with one of the biggest strengths of the V29 Pro, which is the design itself. The V29 Pro looks sleek, it's lightweight, and it feels comfortable in the hand as well. Interestingly enough, Vivo has discontinued the color-changing design on this guy, which we have been seeing in this lineup since the V23 series. The V29 Pro now goes for a more classy aesthetic with this Himalayan blue color variant that has a glossy back, or the space black model with a moody matte finish. But what I find weird is that while the regular Vivo V29 has IP54 rating, the Pro model misses out on any form of IP certification for some reason. On the front, the display is pretty great though. The Vivo V29 Pro uses the same Q9 OLED panel from BOE that you also find on last year's flagship Vivo X90 Pro, so I've had a great experience getting around this phone. The colors here look fantastic, it gets plenty bright outdoors, the bezels are minimal, it's HDR 10 Plus certified, and I don't mind these subtle curves on the sides as well. And if your eyes are sensitive to screen flickering at low brightness levels, Vivo has got you covered with 2160Hz PWM dimming too. That being said, Vivo has once again let me down in the speaker department. At this point, I am just too tired of complaining about a single speaker setup on such an expensive phone. It just does not make any sense to skip something like a stereo speaker on a 40,000 phone. And you also don't get a premium X-axis vibration motor here. Here you get these annoyingly buzzy haptics, which may not sound like a big deal, but I think given the phone's price and what other brands are offering, it's a major letdown. Likewise, I also don't like how Vivo continues to be so unnecessarily strict with its auto refresh rate option. Under the smart switch option, most apps I frequently use like Facebook, Chrome, YouTube and Spotify are still stuck at just 60 or 90 Hz. So I've been using it at a consistent 120Hz mode for the best experience, which I know is not that great for battery life, but the actual battery backup I've been getting from this phone is nowhere near as bad as I initially imagined. On days with a little bit of everything, this thing got me around 6.5 hours of screen on time on average, which is quite impressive. So yeah, a solid B+ on the battery side of things. Vivo has also bumped the charging speed to 80 watt this time, and the included 80 watt power brick will take some 50 minutes for a complete refill. Alright, let's talk about the performance now, and here you get the MediaTek Dimensity 8200, which is a pretty powerful performer. It's not the most capable chip you can find in the premium mid-range segment, but I cannot recall any moment when I felt like the V29 Pro failed to keep up with my everyday chores. Apps load quickly enough and the multitasking experience is good enough for the most part. However, for me, Vivo has been so stagnant with the software experience on the FunTouch OS. It is just not as good looking and refined as Samsung or Pixel or even the 2-year-old brand Nothing. The new Android 14 based FunTouch OS 14 does try to address this issue in some capacity, so we will have to wait and see. As for gaming, I'm a little surprised with how this guy behaves. So normally what happens with slim phones is that they throttle quickly under heavy load to maintain more comfortable temperatures. Whereas on the Vivo V29 Pro, it's exactly the opposite. As you can see from this CPU throttling test and the wildlife extreme stress test, its sustained performance turned out really solid. The phone did climb to around 42 degrees Celsius at the end, but there isn't much performance throttling on the V29 Pro. I came to a similar conclusion from my real-life gaming test as well. I am still not recommending it to anyone with hardcore gaming in mind, but this guy can play all the popular titles like PUBG, Call of Duty, Mech Arena, and even Genshin Impact at medium to high settings with decent FPS stability. Okay, time to talk about the cameras now. And for the very first time in Vivo's V series of phones, the V29 Pro brings a dedicated telephoto camera to take the portrait shots. Vivo has been marketing a lot with influencers to highlight this feature, saying its portrait capabilities are comparable to even DSLRs. To be fair, its 2x portraits are quite good, much better than the 1x ones, because in the 2x mode, the portraits have a more balanced color science and better subject focus. The subjects look quite nice, and the skin tone it produces is very good too. I even compared its portraits with the Oppo Reno 10 Pro, which we know had a very good camera setup for its price, and I found Oppo's images looking a bit dull while Vivo's images are livelier, so I'd definitely go for Vivo in terms of 2x portraits. But at the same time, I don't think they're anywhere near a DSLR or even some semi-flagship phones from Samsung or Pixel. Anyway, the normal daytime shots from the V29 Pro are good too. It preserves details and dynamic range in images well, and overall you can get some pretty good photos from this device. I did notice that Vivo tends to crush the shadow sometimes, but other than that, things look pretty good here. By the way, these are the images that I shot from the vivid mode, but if you want a more subtle color reproduction, you have the option to switch to natural mode as well. I am a little disappointed with its ultra wide angle camera though. It's only an 8 megapixel sensor and its performance is just average. The images don't have a consistent color science with that of its primary lens, and more often than not, I found the white balance in the shots to be quite off. I wasn't very thrilled looking at V29 Pro's low light images either. The phone tends to lift the exposure unnecessarily, and nighttime shots look quite unnatural many times. Turning on night mode, the photos become even more bright, which makes things even worse. Selfies from the phone are nice though. I've always praised Vivo for their selfies, and I will do it once again with the V29 Pro. Its 50 megapixel front camera with autofocus brings out some lively photos with good skin tone and dynamic range. The photos are a bit smoothened, but in a good way, so thumbs up from my side in the selfie department. Even when it comes to videos, Vivo lets you shoot at 4K 60 FPS from both the front and back cameras. I will tell you that the stabilization in both the rear and front camera is not the best in 4K resolution, but the field of view is not compromised at all. So if you use a gimbal, you can actually get some pretty decent videos from this phone. Okay, so that was pretty much all the experiences I've had with the Vivo V29 Pro. There are obviously a lot of positives to talk about this phone. It's got a sleek design, this display is fantastic to look at, and the performance and the cameras are not that bad either. But like I said at the very beginning of this video, Vivo needed to bring their A game if they truly wanted this phone to stand out against the competition, and unfortunately, I don't think that the V29 Pro manages to do that in any meaningful way. It has got an average speaker, the haptics are not great, cameras are also not better than the competition, and it uses the same chipset as we found on last year's V27 Pro, so that's simply not good enough at this price point. Therefore, my suggestion is, instead of spending 40,000 rupees on this thing, I'd suggest you go with something like the Galaxy S21 FE Snapdragon Edition or the Pixel 7 instead, which offers better cameras, proper IP68 dust and water resistant, great stereo speakers, stronger haptics, and a much more reliable software experience. Or if you want something newer with a more powerful processor, I think the Nothing Phone 2 is a much more balanced offering. So yeah, there are a lot of better options than the V29 Pro at this moment. So everybody, that was all for my full review of the Vivo V29 Pro. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit that bell icon. Saying this, I'm Pratima, and I'll see you in the next video.